right, connecting. Testing. My mic appears to be working. New events live. That's me, but that's not the right title. Oh no. I was relying on my title here because I'm going to rely on y'all to, let's see, OBS title. Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, let's see here. Basically, I am just answering questions today. Just to keep myself busy, I'm going through my old streaming folders. Christmas? What is Christmas? Oh, right. Nightmare Before Christmas. Avatar, Leprechaun, Scarecrow, 40K, Pirate Ship, regular show. What was I doing in there? Oh, that's right, Death. I need to update some of these. Medieval Zombie. What was that all about? Ooh, I got some reference in here too. All right, let's see where I left off with my Medieval Zombie from years ago. Oh, we have base body. So not much. I would say almost nothing at all. Okay, let's go ahead and dynamesh this, and we'll get started with our medieval zombie here. Let's see, X symmetry turned on, and we have some, I guess we were going for some bones and muscles underneath skin, so we'll start there. Hello. Thanks for stopping by. If you have any particular ZBrush questions, let me know, because I got nothing planned, and I don't think I'll have time to do my usual, like, oh, let me do something specific and then make a little sizzle video and post it and all that stuff. So actually, I like the arms out. Let me see. So I've got Ryan Kingsline anatomy model in here, so we're going to steal the muscle and bones to put underneath a zombie. So I'm going to kind of mush this around a little bit. So we'll say X symmetry turned on by tapping X on our keyboard, and then we'll go through here. We'll actually, let's zoom out a little bit, and we'll get a little bit of a softer fall off there, and then we'll scooch this out. Focal shift -100. Did I miss a piece there? Yeah, I must have. Okay, so we got the bones separate. Come on, man. Okay, so we're gonna hit Control W for the muscles, and then Control W for the bones to give them their own poly group. So when I merge these down, I can separate them back out if I want to. There we go. So again, we'll zoom out a little bit, and we'll go ahead and grab those arms there, and then we'll kind of match the body here. Okay, that's not too off. It's always useful when you're doing character stuff. Give yourself a little bit of room in that armpit. Putting on pants and clothing and stuff. You don't want to back yourself into a corner. Give yourself some room to breathe. Question. How did you learn all this? How does one go about learning everything in ZBrush in an orderly manner? For me, and I guess for y'all too, thank you for reminding me. You want to learn ZBrush? I do have in my playlist. So, okay, not even in my playlist. If you just go to my YouTube channel and you scroll down, let me link you to it. There's ZBrush What's New playlists. If you start at the intro to ZBrush New and Updated, that'll give you like 50 videos on just the basics. And then all in this playlist view area right here is everything from ZBrush 4 R8 all the way back to ZBrush, or all the way up to ZBrush 2024 What's New. So whenever they do a new release, just go through the documentation, and I can show you. Let's go to my Miro boards here. So this is how I take notes. I don't have a good one on ZBrush because this is relatively new. So we'll have like a Notion. I basically have two steps where I'll do Miro and then Notion, and then at work it'll be something like Confluence instead of Notion. But basically this is how I take notes. So this is, I would go through the documentation and just rewrite it while I follow along in ZBrush while I'm reading the documentation, take pictures, take notes. Any live streams that, Paul Gabry does, I would go through and watch those. And then you know, take notes on that. Any ZBrush Summit, I would go through and take notes on that. And I know I do have a Google Drive Docs now that I think about it. But now what I do is I go into Notion. Or I go into Miro. It's easier to drag stuff around, easier to drag and drop images. And then once I get to a certain point and I want something nice and linear, then I'll take it back into Google Docs or Notion or something like that. So for instance, you know, if I'm learning Character Creator, you know, I'll have some, you know, I'll learn it all over here while I'm watching, you know, some of these are YouTube videos. Some of these are just straight up documentation. So I'll go through here and I'll just kind of start writing notes. And then while I'm going through, I'm either taking pictures or I'm following along and making my own notes. So for example, when I went to ZBrush Summit, I was, here it is. So ZBrush Summit. Okay, here's what I want to teach in ZBrush Summit. Okay, I'm going through, I'm doing the steps, I'm taking pictures, I'm reminding myself what the steps are, and then I'm starting to create documentation. So it's sealing it in my brain, and I'm going to have to teach it in a workshop, so I kind of need to know what I'm doing, so that puts the fear in you. And then if you're going to live stream it, that's even more, you know, sweaty. And then if you're going to do it competitively and show up for like the ZBrush Sculpt Off or something, you need to have your stuff in order, right? So all of that stuff is just ways to seal it in your brain. So again, all these notes, and then eventually, you know, go teach the class, and then eventually you go write an article. And then after all that, for me, some of it sticks in my head. And some of it doesn't, especially if I don't use it a lot. But anyway, going back to ZBrush specifically, here is all the, you know, intro to Z. So if you want to learn ZBrush from my stuff, it's intro to ZBrush, new and updated. Just go to this full playlist. Also on my ArtStation page, if you go to ZBrush What's New, I'll link you straight to that album. Same deal. This one might be a little easier to navigate maybe. So here's all the ZBrush stuff. Not all of it. I've got some other stuff on my ArtStation page. It's like just demo stuff, but or the live stream stuff that we do. But for instance, here's intro to ZBrush, and right up here in the corner, you can go through here and just kind of learn ZBrush. Ooh, my hands are cold. Yeah, as DaVinci. Yeah, you know what we could do too is that's another cool thing with the whole DaVinci drawing thing is in ZBrush. You've got a cool. Did I miss something? This one? Okay. If you hit the comma key, and this would fall under, let me scooch this over so I can see it. What was that year? 2019, I think. Yeah, this one. ZBrush 2019, what's new? So here's 48 videos on that, and in here you're going to see a bunch of like cell shading and sketch mode type rendering stuff. This non-NPR, non-photorealist NPR, maybe? Yeah, NPR. But in here we have render sets. So if we wanted to go through here and do like a sketch version of what we're doing, this one looks cool, notebook doodles. So we'll just double click this. This will load up render settings. So whenever we hit BPR, it'll go through and, you know, make it look like it's drawn on a piece of note paper or something. So you can go through here and turn on perspective. You can go into draw menu and crank down that focal length, give it real extreme nacho Dorito POV. And there you go. You got a cool, that actually works really well. That really, I mean, the background's a little dark, but we can always fix that too. This is all done post-process. So we're hitting BPR and then it does it in post. So if you go into, if I remember, I don't do this a ton, but underneath render filters, BPR filters, you can go through here and you can turn these on and off. So there, that one makes the character lighter. This one makes the background lighter or darker. So let's mess around with this a little bit. Opacity, maybe. Crank that up a little bit. What is this? Colorize, replace, radius, mask, gray range, beep, beep, beep. I don't know exactly. Let's see. Oh, back color. Maybe if I raise that up. Yeah. So there's, ooh, that's a little maybe bright for our eyes in the morning, but there's a little bit of notebook paper kind of look, and it's really cool. Everybody's happy. Is there a possibility in ZBrush Core Mini? Oh no! I don't know if I can answer this one. To import some models that I created in Blender, or do I need the bigger version for that? God, do I have Core Mini on here? Core. Oh, I don't have ZBrush Core Mini on this computer. I'm sorry. I do. I'm gonna guess the Core Mini probably not. I hate to say that and be wrong. They may have updated stuff. Now that you mention it, let me see. Mini. So here's Core, ZBrush Core. I have a playlist for that, but it's been updated since this, but I'll go ahead and link it to it just in case. And then here's my ZBrush Core mini live stream. This is just for going in there and doing some quick sculpts, you know, starting with, you know, whatever, and then you can export it out. But you're right, I'm not positive. I think we did who's the Star Wars character? Wormhead. So here's the ZBrush Core mini video, and then here's the ZBrush Core playlist. Again, I'm a old, ancient, decrepit ZBrush user, so it's hard for me to go back to Core and Mini. But yeah, I'm not sure if I can answer that one. I'm sorry. You may need the bigger version for that. Have you tried sculpting in VR? I did briefly, and it was interesting, but I suppose the same problem I have with that is the same problem I have with sculpting on a in real life, or also on a Cintiq, you know, a big screen. Is just the ergonomics of it was kind of, you know, if I'm going to be putting in 10, 12 hours, having my arms in the air and like I'm doing a juggling act all day, it gets a little tiring. I'm just lazy and out of shape, I suppose, but it wasn't for me. It was really nice to have scale, like have a sense of scale for sure. Wasn't all that useful for the end product not being in VR though, in my opinion. Because there's a lot of things you take, you know, depending on your end experience, sometimes you want to be creating in the end experience, but sometimes it's useful, you know, like for ergonomic stuff, like if you're doing a cockpit for a sci-fi space shuttle or something, it's really nice to be like set things up in a way that you're in, as opposed to like, hey, I'm looking down on something, making it the size of a bread box and trying to pretend like I'm making something for somebody to use. You could just be the someone using it while you're creating it. That's really nice, but I don't do that a ton, so it wasn't something that, yeah, maybe someday. Let's see here. You know what? Let's take our draw menu back here and we'll say 50. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, Miro. And I think on the Miro stuff, you can just get a free one. Oh, another really, actually, now that I think about it, I think I do have, if you want to get acclimated to Miro, somewhere in here. I need to get better at thumbnails, man. These are all terrible looking. Here's a noisy thumbnail for Miro. You can check this out. This is a get started. You can use it like reference viewer and stuff like that. And you can also, I've done some presentations in there where you can do it like PowerPoint, and then you can click through, and it's really powerful. It's good stuff. How to easily connect biceps with triceps and pectoralis minor. Well, let's take a look. So let's drop these arms down, even though I just raised them back up. So, and here's the other thing too. Let's go to Zygote Body, and we'll say, take this skin off. Okay, don't need any guts. We need bones. We need muscles. And the question was biceps with triceps. Well, you're not going to connect them really, right? So here's your biceps brachii, long head and short head. And then here's your triceps. And then your pectoralis minor. You can actually see, I think, right in there. Can I grab it? Boop. Yeah. So now if I go through, did I get all the heads of the triceps? That was 1, 2. I feel like there's another one right here. There it is. So now if I go through and take these muscles off, here's all the muscles we're talking about. And this is the one I always remember with the pectoralis minor, is that old man Leonardo da Vinci drawing where I think his arm is up and you can kind of see the pectoralis minor underneath the paper thin pectoralis muscle. Now, as far as connecting them, they don't really connect at all. These get a little close on the coracoid process, but you don't really connect them. But we could make them. We could talk about making muscle brushes in ZBrush. Let me see. Let's do that. So we want to make some muscles. So Control Shift. Oh yeah, I guess that does make sense. Okay, so when we were in here, we said Control Shift. Oh, if you want to follow along, comma key, tool. There's the Ryan Kingsline anatomy model. So here we have our skeleton. I'm going to go ahead and split that out, and then we have our muscles all in here. And in fact, I want to say, if we want to mess around with these muscles, I've already hit Control W to make it all in polygroup, but we can say auto groups, and then geometry modify topology mirror and weld. So now let's see if we even have one. So we have a biceps in here, and we have a triceps in here. Here's all our triceps, and then let's see if we go digging. There's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no pectoralis minor, but we have pectoralis major. So let's go ahead and say split hidden. Let's turn off line. Let's turn on skin shader, which would for y'all would be somewhere in here. And then, yeah. So then we'll turn on our skeletons. Go ahead and get rid of our zombie here. We got the merged. Let's just rename this Skelly. And then this is muscly. And then this is the rest. There we go. That's how we can stay organized. And then for this one, so, you know, we do have polygroups for these. So you can Control Shift Tab, Control Shift Tab, Control Shift Tab, Control Shift Drag, blah, blah, blah. Another easy way to do that is just turn off perspective. Control Shift Drag over all these parts, just a little bit of them. Control Shift A, which is your visibility, grow all, and then you can just do a split hidden. And that's underneath your Subtool split menu. If, now we're talking about this again on my YouTube channel, or on my ArtStation page, on the in the ZBrush section here, intro to ZBrush, what's new. Somewhere in here is going to be custom menus. Let me see, Control F, custom. Yeah, custom brushes. Custom interface, custom menus, video 42. That'll get you all the information on how to set up these menus, like a little hotkey you can assign to a custom menu, get stuff really quickly. Go through here and customize your menu. Also, one thing I don't bring up in my videos that I wish I did remember is you can hold down Control and you can drag these little icons over here, this whole section right here. So if you have a small, number one, if your resolution is too poor on your monitor for ZBrush, sometimes on some laptops it'll get that way, you can go in here to Preferences, Interface, UI, and you can change your button size down a bit. And then also remember you can Control drag over here, or you can Control Alt drag off of here with Config, Enable Customize turned on, and then you can get rid of some stuff you don't need. Anyway, so we have our pectoralis major in there, but that's not what we want. We want pectoralis minor. So here is my, so here, you know, triceps, long head, lateral head, medial head, short head, whatever they're called. And then biceps, this is long and short, I think. And then, so now let's talk about ways to get a muscle shape that goes flat, you know, origin to insertion. One easy way to kind of do that would be just to go in here to BC brush curve tube. And then on curve brushes, we know, oops, scoot this back. Okay. Everybody see you there? Okay. Stroke. Stroke settings are over here. And so, for example, if we're in, let me put this back. Open up all these curve menus, and in here there's an intensity. Let's turn on size. I'm going to go from little to big to little, and maybe add another dot in here. Just click and pull. So now we've got like a belly of a muscle in here. So now when I go, and also we can go in here to, we'll turn off bend start and bend end, and we'll say as line. Now we'll turn this into kind of a muscle type brush. Doesn't really snap very well, but you can go in here and move this around. But we can also make our own. That might give us a little bit more control. I've never quite understood why. You know what? Maybe it's under picker. Is it like continuous? Sorry, I'm getting into weird once orientation. No, I don't know. Anyway, let's say you want to make your own. Go out of edit mode, always switch, Control N. I'm going to hit quick save up there at the top, which is F or 9 on your keyboard. And we'll start with a cylinder, right? So we'll do a cylinder here. We'll go into edit mode so we can rotate around. This is still an initialized state. That's why it's white. That means we can go down here to initialize. We can say H divides of maybe 8, and then V divides of very little. And now we can go up here and say make polymesh 3D. We'll turn line back on for our polyframe, and we'll make this real simple. Insert multiple edge loops. Just go in here and pull so that we have 3 even divisions. We'll go ahead and say Control W for that top one, Control Shift drag, Control W for that bottom one. So now we've got 3 poly groups here, and it's capped. So I'm going to hit B on my keyboard, brush, create insert mesh, new. So now we've got an insert mesh brush, but we want to make it a curve brush. So we just have to go in here and say curve mode, drag this out. Now we have a nice curve brush. Oh, but they're not welded. So we got to go into our brush menu under modifiers, and we got to say weld my points, please. And it's also a triparts curve brush. Not totally necessary for something as simple as this, but it works. So now we have our muscle brush. You can see it's interacting with the shape underneath it, which we can turn on and off with snap. And then right now it's sitting right on top of that curve. So if we wanted in the middle of that curve, we can go in here to depth and say embed of 0. So now when we tap to update this curve, it'll snap to the middle. And then just like we did before, we can go in here to stroke and we can say size. And again, we're going to go small to small, origin to insertion, and then we'll get a little muscle belly in here just by tapping in here, and then we can tap to update, and there we go. Now we're starting to get a little muscle brush. Now, muscles aren't going to like wrap around and do this unless it's, you know, Tim Burton style muscles. So we're going to go in here and we're going to say as line, go back here, and now we can go here to here. And is it still not? Wait, let's turn snap off, then start off. Insert mesh here. And then also go smaller. What am I missing here? Is it just not enough? Oh, maybe just not small enough. Okay, here we go. So now, if we want to go here to here, and then, let's see, can we do bend end maybe might be useful. Bend start, bend end. Maybe my brush too big. Anyway, so we can tap off, and then we can make another one here. And now, okay, that's working a little bit better. Tap off, make another one here. We're not making anything in particular. I'm just showing you origin to an insertion type muscle brush. So now that we have this, we can say Control Shift drag over all these pieces, Control Shift A, split hidden. We can hit D for dynamic. That'll go ahead and smooth these out. And now we've got kind of a little muscle brush going. And at this point, you could go through here and say dynamic. Oh, I should show you where dynamic is, huh? Geometry, dynamic, you can turn that on or off. And then when you're ready for those to be real geometry, you can hit apply. And now we have subdivision in here. They're nice and smooth. And then now you can go in here and say Dynamesh. Just Dynamesh this all together. Ooh, not that low. You can also drag off the resolution slider onto here, and it'll pick a resolution for you. So then when you hit Dynamesh, it'll kind of keep that resolution. You can go through here, you can smooth that out. We'll crank that resolution up just a bit. We'll go into our damn standard O2 brush, which you might have to get off the internet. And then now we can go in here and do some nice little muscle sculpting. Now, it's a Dynamesh mesh, right? So we're making muscles and we're sculpting in details, but it's not great topology. At any point, we could control tap the latest point in history. We can go in here to ZRemesh, let's just say half, depth size down quite a bit. We want pretty nice even quads. We'll just hit ZRemesh. This will give us new geometry. You know, we can go lower than that. Half, half, half. There we go. Nice low geometry, but I lost all my detail. No problem. Just go in here to Subtool Project History. That's going to project those history points we stored. Hit Control D, project history, Control D, project history, Control D, project history. Now we have all our detail back. We got some errors in there. We just smooth that out. That might have been from that's fine. And then, so now we've got this. Then we can go in here and start detailing up. So we started with Dynamesh, and then we got into Dynamesh or Sculptors Pro, or whatever kind of iffy geometry, and then you can get your details going, your volumes going, and then at a certain point you can go through here and you can start detailing it up on a ZRemesh surface. So in this case, long story short, you could use something like that. Now in our case here, it also might be easy enough. Let's just say delete these out of here. Interestingly, I would say like you could go to BTO, Topology Brush, and just start drawing on muscles like this. But you're going to see it's not sticking to my object because I have these points stored in history. So I'm going to Control Tap to turn those off. So let me see. Topology brush. Yeah, now it's on the object. So you can go through here and you can make just geometry. And you could say split mask points and Control D to subdivide or whatever, smooth out. And now you've got a little muscle piece here that we just added. However, we got to go across bones, and that's topology brush isn't going to be be too great at that. So in this case, what I might do is go in here to append a ZSphere here. I'm going to make the ZSphere small. We can turn on X symmetry if you want. So I'll make a ZSphere just small out of the way. And then I'm going to go down here to Topology, Edit Topology, I think, right? Oh, hold on. I usually go in here, Edit Topology. Yeah, okay. You can make this a little darker so we can see a little better. We need to turn off, hold down Shift and turn off all these paintbrush icons. So now, if we want to go through and say, okay, I want geometry to start here, and then it's the pectoralis minor is going to go across down this rib here, and then over, and then back up over this, and then it'll kind of go up into, well, not kind of, it will absolutely go up here to that, what do we call that, the coracoid process, I believe, and then back down here. So now we're kind of just drawing in some geometry, like so. And we can always hit W and move, it'll snap to the surface. You could use ZModeler and extrude edges, but again, this one might be just this one's just a little bit easier, I think. So we've got our geometry on here. We can hit A to turn on adaptive skin. It's going to look not good because if we turn on polyframe here, they're like, oh, what is that? Remember, you got to go down here to adaptive skin. It always wants to, by default, go to Dynamesh. So just turn off Dynamesh. We'll do density down to 1. And now when we hit A or hit preview, that'll just give us the plain old geo. So if we like this, we can say make adaptive skin. It is going to throw it out here just in your pool of tools. But we're going to go down here to append our skin ZSphere. We don't need the ZSphere anymore, so just delete it out of there. Or you could just delete this geometry on your ZSphere and just keep making more muscles. It's real easy. So now we've got this. We can say, okay, let's go in here and we'll use our move brush here and we'll get this out a little bit, and then we'll go under ZModeler brush, BZM, hover over face, Q mesh polygroup all, and we'll kind of pull out a little bit. I'm going to do an uncrease all, and then you know what we could do? Let's do this. I'm going to go in here to my move brush with curve, AccuCurve turned on. That allows me just to use the move brush, but also kind of pull out to points a little bit. And we'll go through here. We'll hit Control D, and that'll kind of get us our muscle going here. We'll hit Control D one more time. And then if you want to put that belly of the muscle in we were talking about, you can go through here and just do a little inflate down the middle. The ends are already kind of flat, but you can also go in here with like Trim Dynamic brush and just kind of trim, trim, trim where it attaches. Little ligaments and tendons. Okay, pop quiz. Ligaments or tendons attach muscle to bone or muscle to other muscle? I forget. But anyway, here's another way to do muscle, and then you can keep subdividing. Now, this isn't super even geometry, but of course, you know, you can say ZRemesh half, the upsize down to 0. Boom. Now we got nice even geometry. You can go even lower if you want, and then Control D to subdivide. Go back in here and kind of pull these corners back out. Get those attachment points. Looks like it, again, and just right along this rib there. And then back here to inflate a little bit. And then Control D to subdivide, and then go through here and with our damn standard O2 brush. And it looks like, yeah, the muscle fiber just kind of go along this direction here. Pectoralis minor. And if I miss your question, it's not because I hate you or I'm ignoring you, unless you're like spam. And then, but just keep shouting it out. I'll get back. We're starting to roll in now. Cool, of course, Arnaldo. No problemo. My pleasure. Yeah, my YouTube. I'm trying to get a little better at my thumbnails, but you know how it goes. Hey, Mike, it's Jared. You never answer your emails. You know why the... sorry about that. I'll have to go check my emails. But you're right. I rarely dive into my emails that much. Do you know why the project? Oh, I have no idea. Which one? Not that I would talk about it, but I have no idea. I don't know too much about the going. I have my own little corner, but not much more than that. I'm a developer who's pretty new to the modeling scene, so are there some special tips you would give to someone who's new to that scene? To the modeling scene. Where do you get references for modeling? Well, it depends on what you want to model. So if you want to do model anatomy, Zygote Body is a pretty good reference. In fact, anatomy specifically, if we go to my YouTube channel here, here's a decent one. We got a couple in here where we do kind of anatomy type stuff, but here's a vampire anatomy going through and just kind of having fun with anatomy. So I'll link you to this one. Share, copy. But really, it kind of depends on what you want to model. And if you're just starting out, then I wouldn't say like necessarily start simple, but don't. Let me see here. Let me see if I've got some good examples. Before, like something like this could be fun, where it's just a baseball with a face. You don't have to worry too much about, or just matching a concept. Like, and most of these are live streams, by the way, too. So if you're like, how'd you make the SpongeBob? You can literally go in and watch me make this SpongeBob. And my approach might be a little bit stodgy. When I'm live streaming, it's like, well, let me show you all these techniques. When in reality, in ZBrush, you can just have Dynamesh, a cube, and then just make SpongeBob. It's totally fine and totally valid. But when I'm doing a live stream, I tend to like want to talk about features and little cool things you can do in ZBrush. So that's why we do a lot of deformers and do a lot of inserting of ZRemeshing and topology brush and stuff like that. It is useful, and I suppose I would model SpongeBob like this myself, but that doesn't mean you have to model SpongeBob like that. So that's a cool, easy one. I would avoid something like this just starting out. It's totally doable, but it gets a little complicated. But as far as like, well, I can show you the reference I have for this. I think, was that recording? Oh, that was called... I have so much stuff on this computer. Armor panels. I want to say that was a bison. You see, you know what? When I need to find something, I just go to everything app on my computer. Bison. There it is. Pav recording bison. I just need to sort by name. There it is. So for instance, if I'm modeling something like this, I will have a reference folder where I have weapon reference, vehicle reference, mech reference, and in here, just a ton of mechanical stuff. Alexander Trufanov had some awesome... I think he was the one who inspired the entire thing, actually. Where I was like, oh, I could start with a ZeeZoo model, and then, here's some dinosaurs made out of, like, old military parts and wrenches and stuff. I thought that was so cool. I mean, obviously his stuff's way better than mine, but that's kind of the idea. It's just going through there and taking a shape and then turning it into, something animal. So we'll just watch this real quick. Blah, blah, blah. So starting with a ZeeZoo animal, which you can go into ZBrush's, if we pause this, if you want to start with an animal, hit the comma key, go in here to project, and there is a ZeeZoo. Now, if you're working over here and you're like, oh, I don't want to blow all this away, you can go in here to load tools from project, and you can just go to, where is it? Max on ZBrush 2024. So C, program files, Max on ZBrush 2024, Z projects folder. Everything in here is what your lightbox is looking at, so you can just save stuff in here. So for example, Z projects, ZeeZoo, and then all these ZeeZoo things are in here. So you can just load in tools from a Z project and not get rid of everything you're working on. In our case, I don't really care that much, so I can just go through here and say, okay, we want to start with a gorilla. So we're going to double click the gorilla, and now we've got a bunch of ZSpheres. And now we can go through here and we can hit R to kind of rotate here, kind of move this stuff around. And then the legs around here and the head. And I'm using rotate, but of course you can use move, scale, and rotate. You hit W and you could, you know, move this stuff around, whatever you want to do. If you're happy or you want to start just working on this, you can go down here and you can hit A on your keyboard. Again, that's going to give you an adaptive skin. This is a little different of an adaptive skin. I don't remember exactly how to do it, but it's one of those really kind of old school things of, let me see, use classic skinning. You can insert local and connector meshes here. So when you hit preview, instead of having a ZSphere topology, you'll have spheres and cylinders in this case. And we can say, okay, we like this. Make adaptive skin. That's going to make it real geometry. We can click on that. Again, we'll go out of perspective. We'll turn on skin shader. And then you can start, again, you can control shift tap any of these and then control shift drag, and you can start pulling these things out. But we can go ahead and say, okay, the arms will split off and the legs. I like working control shift A. Let's grab, again, all these little pieces, control shift A, control shift drag, will split hidden. I like to kind of split the arms, and we can also hold down control shift, go in here to select lasso, control shift A, control shift alt. There we go, split hidden. So now we have our head, arms, body, and legs. And then if we want to start going in here and sculpting in earnest, you know what? Actually, I want this deltoid shape on with the arms. So I'm going to say split hidden, and then I'm going to take this one, I'm going to merge it down onto the arms. Merge is down here, merge down. You can do a hotkey for that. And also, if you wanted to keep the fingers separate, you could split those out. Or if you're just kind of doing a little bit of sculpting for a statue or something, you just go in here, and again, you can just Dynamesh that result. We'll turn off, we'll hit Control W, or you can turn off Polyframe. And now you've got, go through here, and start smoothing this out. And now, back to anatomy sculpting. Go through here, and you can start, we'll go into with our dam standard. And again, here's our, some sort of deltoid. I'm assuming their anatomy isn't too much different than ours. Here's your tricep here. And again, we can, the cool thing about separating things out is when you get caught in a little tight corner over here, just go into solo mode. Little solo button there, and then you can just go through here and start digging this around. Brachialis on the other side, brachialis on the outside, biceps here, and we're just digging in. And then here's our, is that brachioradialis? Goes over here to the radius. And then we got our extensors, and then we got our flexors back here. So we're just kind of, you know what, let's raise up that resolution just a tiny bit. Not too much. You don't want to get, I don't think you want to get too heavy in your details while you're just getting your volumes out. Oh, you know, I need to update my brushes. I forgot. I got a lightly updated version of ZBrush, and now all my my smooth brushes and stuff aren't set up the way I like. Anyway, so now you can go through here like clay tubes or clay buildup and just start, you know, rounding out or refining your muscle bellies we were talking about, along with the pointy bony landmarks, along with the flat tendons and ligaments and stuff. And now we've got, you know, and you could also turn this into a sci-fi thing too, a big old sci-fi robot. Same kind of deal. If you're just concepting out, just raise that resolution up to here a bit, and then you can start going, okay, I want this to kind of be maybe a metal plate, but it has to articulate up here, right? So through here, we're going to have to kind of cut in. Maybe we'll cut in here, around and back, and this will kind of begin the beginning of how we want to, you know, this can kind of maybe be a little bit rubberized. Maybe it's layered rubber through here. So we'll kind of smooth this out, and then we'll go back in here with our Damien Standard or our Dam Standard 02, and we'll say these are just going to be like little rubber articulated components here. And then this, again, go in here to your move brush with AccuCurve turned on. We can now go in here and kind of move these things out to corners. Again, these are just indications of direction. I'm not worried about like, oh, is my edge loop in here? Am I going to be able to bevel this perfectly? Nobody cares. We're not there yet. We're just getting our idea in the round. So now we've got a little bit of thing here. And then, you know, here's, and also the articulation points too. So All of this has to be able to move pretty well, so we want to kind of make sure these stay clear. And then you can always put a, you know, a landmark or a armor piece, or if you want, you can extract off a piece. So we know this right here is probably going to stay pretty rigid, that whole ulna to the pinky over here. So we could always go through here and we could say, you know what, let's hold down Control, mask pin, go through here and mask this out. And then you can just do a quick extraction over here. So you can say extract this off. This is just a preview, so it disappears if you move your camera, but you can extract some geometry here, and also there might be a little piece over here you accidentally masked. You can check that out. So extract, if we like it, we hit accept, control drag to unmask. I'm going to go through here. We'll just do a quick, I would say polish by feature. Open circle, you just tap that a few times. That'll smooth this out and keep your thickness kind of crispy. If you're just messing around, I might just hit Control W. You can just use the deformation. I'll show you where that is too. Deformation polish down here. You can just polish this out. That'll kind of round it out. And now you've got a piece of mesh here. This one doesn't have Dynamesh turned on, but you can Dynamesh resolution drag onto here and say, okay, 408 is the resolution I want. Boom, and now the resolution matches. And now you can just start going through here and say, again, trim dynamic, and go into solo mode here. Let's raise the resolution just a tiny bit. So trim dynamic, clipping. Well, here's something you need to know. So if we're going to go through here and we're going to clip, you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the side and I'm going to clip a little shape out. It might do something weird on the other side. So for clipping objects I want to clip on that are mirrored across from one side to the other, I'm going to turn off X symmetry, grab a little piece of this, Control Shift A, geometry modify topology, delete hidden, go in here to array mesh, turn that on, lock position, lock size, reset XMirror. So now I've got, if I turn on polyframe, I've got, this is the one I'm working on. This is just a ghost. This is, I can just turn array mesh on and off. You can put that button in your interface or in a hotkey. And now if I go over here, whatever I do to this one will update on the other side, but it won't interfere with it, basically. So you can use your clip brush, your, if you're gonna do something like this, where you wanna go in here with your clay brush, and then you Dynamesh, it's gonna do that. Make sure, if you have thin meshes like this is, you go into brush auto masking, and turn on backface masking. And it seems like I'm talking about a lot of stuff, but all of the stuff, if you do it a lot, just put it in the interface, make a hotkey for it. I usually have backface masking here. If I hover over this, my hotkey is Alt F. So at any point I want to turn on backface masking for any brush, I would go to clay tubes, I can turn on backface masking. I don't even need to see this open. I just have a little visual indicator here that I have it on or off, you know, so it's not that big a deal. It's just something you need to know. And then now I can go through here and be like, okay, now give me a big old whatever, and then go back in here and we'll say put a little deep, and then BI brush insert. We'll go old school. We'll put a little Phillips head screw. And this is also going to be a scale indicator too, right? So if you thought that gorilla was gorilla size, think again. Now it looks like, you know, a little G.I. Joe sized toy. Okay, back to questions here. And my wife brought me coffee. Thank God. Control also works for horizontal menus too. Good point. Up here, you run out of room up here. Also, you'll see I have like clear cache files and my active points are over here, so I kind of swap some positions. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. Hello, I got a question on the portfolio presentation. Should one render a high poly model, or is he aimed to render in low poly, apply normal maps for high poly, add details? Anything. So I got a little bit on this. It's a little bit dated. Let's see. This is my page. How does my page work? Me. Manage portfolio. No, I just want to view my profile. And in here, do I have, yeah, blog. Okay. So in here, maybe breaking into the industry. Again, these are really old, so take them with a grain of salt. But a good rule of thumb is your portfolio, and don't use my ArtStation as how to do a portfolio. This is more like, hey, I did a live stream. Here it is. It's not, I'm not reloading this page. I'm going to lose all my questions. Restream. garbage. Basically, your portfolio is just to make sure that you are answering all the questions that a potential employer wants answered. So if you go through and you only have high-res model renders and they're like, cool, they look great, that got your foot in the door, or that got our attention, but now I'm clicking through everything and I don't see any examples of a low poly, any bakes, anything in engine. So now I have questions in my mind of, are we just hiring somebody who can do high res and now we got to train them to do low res? It's not a deal breaker, but that's if you're competing with somebody who can have a high res render that's beautiful, as well as a low res in engine object asset that's beautiful too. Now it's easier to hire the person who answered those questions than it is to hire the one that's like, well, we got to go in and ask them. And then if they say no, we have to weigh, do we teach them or do we just hire the person that can? And, maybe we do, maybe we don't. There's a lot of variables that go into the hiring process. But as far as portfolios go, yeah, you definitely want to get their attention, right? So then do a high poly model with a lembic hair or curves. At the end of the day, people may have different opinions on this. My opinion is smoke, mirrors, witchcraft, whatever you need to do to make your render beautiful. And I'm also not a great example of that, because I'm just doing a live stream and then I just throw it into, Marmoset or Unreal or something and then just do something really quick. I spend more of my time just on process and then very little time on actual presentation. So don't be like me. Spend enough time on modeling to get your idea out, but really spend time honing and fine-tuning and making your renders pop, which I am terrible at. I don't even have real good examples. This is probably the closest one maybe of, and even then it's like not my presentation's great. It's just I got a few renders in there. But if they want to see my creation process, they can click through here. But again, I'm not trying to apply for a job to make Garbage Pail Kids, although that would be an awesome job. But yeah, like something like this, got lighting and materials and textures and depth of field, and it's a good render. This might get somebody's attention and go, oh, that's eye-catching. It's got good contrast. It's got good color balance. It's got good color contrast. If you squint your eyes compositionally, it's okay. There's depth to the frame a little bit. It's interesting. I will now click on this. So you've won the battle there. When they click on it, if the job is low res baking and in things in engine, have that stuff there. If that stuff is there and you got their attention, you're on the short list probably, as long as you have, compelling enough work and enough of that content. Do you prefer, let me get rid of this. Do you prefer using 2K or 4K resolution sculpting a ZBrush? Because sometimes I find 4K really tiny icons. I feel like you can go in, like we were talking about earlier, go in here to your, where is it? UI? Not custom UI. Config. We were just in there. Interface UI. You can kind of mess around with here. I want to say I don't use a 4K monitor. I just have two giant 36-inch monitors that are just regular old resolution, but they're just big. Good quality. But yeah, I don't use 4K monitors, so I can't say I can prefer it or not because I don't use them. Yeah, bigger icons when you work in 4K. And there also might be some Windows stuff too, where you can say like, hey, Windows 4K monitor scale 150%, and that might also help too. Something like that. Tendons move joints. Thank you, Alex. You are full of good information today. Keep shouting it out. Is there any news about iPad version of ZBrush? I want it so much. I would say I do too, except I don't have an iPad, so I guess I'll use it. I guess I'll buy an iPad and sculpt on it. Yes, Michael Pavlich live stream. Oh, thank you so much. You're very kind, Finn. Glad the videos are helping. Is there a way to keep tablet pressure constant for the masking brush? I keep having to change it every startup. Oh, you could maybe... let's take a look at that. So here we have a masking brush, and it kind of, as you can tell, it kind of fades in and then fades out. So if I hold down Control, we have a mask pin. And while holding... So this is a funny thing about Control or masking brushes is you have to keep Control held down in order to change the settings on that. So let's go in here to tablet pressure. It doesn't have global settings used on. or it doesn't have global settings on for the mask pen brush. So let's do this. Let's hold down Control. Let's go in here and say clone. So I've got mask pen, mask pen 1 selected. And we're going to modify this. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to say global settings aren't on. So I'm going to go in here to say size, and I'm going to crank this all the way up. And then underneath, although the size, you know, this might be variable. Maybe you do want pressure to be full, but maybe you do want a little small to large on your size. So you know what? I'll leave that alone. Under Z intensity, this is the one you want to crank up. So we'll crank that up. So now when I hold down Control, I can still go small to large, but it should have a pretty constant, but it's not, right? Like Z intensity still kind of, you can still kind of feather it in there. Oh, you know why? Because masking doesn't use Z intensity. It uses RGB intensity. So let's go ahead and hit the reset button. I'm going to put another reset. Let's take this one here and crank it all the way up. There we go. Okay. I knew that. Did I? So now we can go size small to large, and it is always constant. So now let's see if we can save. Let's see if we can save this. So we have mask pen 1, right? I'm going to go in here with Control held down, brush, save as, and we're going to save that into, again, ZBrush 2024. If we want it to always start up with ZBrush, we can go into Z Startup Brush Presets, and we can call this Mask Pen Constant. So that way, when we go into ZBrush, we can just go in here and we could select Mask Pen Constant, and that will go ahead and switch out our mask to Mask Pen Constant. Here's the scarier version. If you always want your Mask Pen Constant to be the settings that Mask Pen uses, you can go in here, hold down Control, go in here to Brush, Save As, 2024 Z Data Brush Presets. The first thing you want to do is under Brush Presets, Control C, Control V. So you always have a copy of your brush presets to go back to. If you don't, you got to reinstall ZBrush to get them. And then underneath Brush Presets, let's go to the M Brushes, Mask Pen. If you overwrite Mask Pen, this will overwrite your Mask Pen Constant settings on the Mask Pen. So every time you start up ZBrush, you should have a Mask Pen brush that behaves like that. Whew. I think. Yes, please ask questions. Go for it, Richard. Here they go so fast. But you know all these things, even though there's a tutorial on how to use these things. I know. If anybody hates me more than my YouTube viewers, I don't know who they are. But the good news is, the reason I go fast on my live stream is because I'm mean and I'm hateful. But also I get bored very easily. But I do have resources here for you. For example, again, on my homepage under the ZBrush and What's New playlists, Intro to ZBrush. If you want to know like the basics of ZBrush, where I'm like, you know, oh, I'm going fast with Dynamesh. I know Dynamesh is so easy. I've talked about Dynamesh for 15 years. If you want to know more about Dynamesh, where I go slower, then the Intro to ZBrush is what you want to check out. And then you can go in here and learn all about Dynamesh at the snail's pace that a beginner needs. And everybody's happy. Do you ever have issues zooming and focusing on a certain point of your object? Even though all axes are turned on. If I'm working on something, and we can always switch back to Mask Pen here. So if I'm working on something in here, then I'll switch to right-click navigation. Speaking of UI, click, no. Oh no, where is it? Navigation. So right-click navigation is enabled, and then I've disabled right-click pop-up. That's when you right-click on your mouse, and there will be a little menu there that has a bunch of options in it. It just gets in my way when I'm in here. So I'll switch to right-click navigation when I'm in close on something. And in fact, let's crank up that resolution. Or what we can do, let's say we're really loving this armor piece. So let's go through here and mask this out here. And let's go into solo mode. So here's our armor shoulder piece, and we want to continue to refine this. We could rebuild it. We could use like Z modeler and topology brush. Also another thing too, if we want to mask this little centerpiece out, we can go down here. You can save a hotkey for this too. Mask region. You could mask in here and then fill region, and then I'll go ahead and fill it for you. I'm not going to do an extraction for this one. I might just hit Control W, Control Shift Alt, or Control Shift Tab, split hidden. Again, I'm going fast. I wish I could apologize for it, but I'm not going to. And then we're going to go down here to, again, our masking menu here. We're going to mask by our open border, Control Tap to invert that mask, deformation, polish by feature, close circle, smooth that out. And then we can just do a close holes, geometry modify, topology, close holes, W to go to gizmo, Control, drag out a little bit of thickness on here. And that'll give us just a little bit more oomph to work with. So now we've got this. Now again, if I'm going to be doing a lot of clipping, I might grab one. Oh, here's another thing too. While we're in clip curve, if I want to temporarily switch back to select, just Control Tap, and then we can just grab a little piece here and then delete hidden. And then we'll do our array mesh trick again. So lock position, lock size, reset, XMirror, and then now we've got our array mesh set up. So, and again, we got this thing Dynamesh. So now if you want to make this a little nicer looking, clip's a good one for that. You could use knife, I suppose. And if I would use knife if I was going to like use ZRemesh to rebuild this, but we're just kind of going through and having fun. So, meh. We'll go through here. And this is where, like, if we were going to use the clip brush like this, it would clip all the way across and do some really nasty stuff to the other side. Now, you could go out of X symmetry and mask this side and just work on this side and then mirror and weld over. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just options for you. So anyway, so now we've got this. We can go in here into our H polish and our trim dynamic, and we can go through and start adding little bevels and little interesting doodads and little hard surface alphas and, you know, all the little mechanical bits that we can do in ZBrush. And again, if you wanted to rebuild this and start with box modeling a little bit and then convert it back to a Dynamesh and continue exploring, you certainly can. We'll go in here with our damn standard brush, and we can say, hold down Alt if we want to pull out to a kind of a ridge right there, and then we can go into our clay brush here and kind of build up just a tad, and then go back into our H polish brush. And we'll kind of use that as a, you can hold down Alt and then let go of Alt to kind of go through here. And now we got some little bit of hard surface exploration going on, and it's a separate piece. So this one here, we'll just go back and re-Dynamesh, and then we'll kind of just stuff this. If you get any weird scraggly edges, I usually turn on Sculptures Pro just to kind of go through there and kind of eat away at the bad geo. If you're ever in at a spot and then you control drag, it'll go ahead and fill that hole of that bad piece of geo. There's another one too. If you hold down Shift, Smooth Brush Modifiers, you can change your min connected to 1. That's if you get those little, you ever see those little things and you're having a hard time like smoothing them out. Again, Sculptures Pro will literally eat that geometry away. But if you don't want to use Sculptures Pro, hold down Shift, change min connected to 1, and that'll get those little pinpoint points that allow you to smooth them back. So anyway, now we got a little thing. Okay, yeah, so zooming in and focusing on a certain point of your object, even though all axis is turned on. The all axis part I'm not sure I understand, but that's usually I'm in here. I'm using right-click navigation instead of going out here to my safe action and navigating. Then when I'm zoomed out, I'll just switch back to regular old ZBrush navigation. It's kind of built into my brain now. I don't notice that I'm even doing it until I think about it, but to talk about it on a live stream. But and then we could do, here's another fun one. Let's go in here to comma key brush, element of QQRST, trim hole. Yeah, trim hole. So you can use this to kind of countersink like a little, or you can hold down Alt and you can kind of pull straight up. So if you want to do that, or you can go in here, Alt-E-M. So you can go BI brush insert IMM primitives and then hit M and grab whatever you need. So just like when we saved our brush, that pin constant, I have a bunch of custom brushes that I always load up with ZBrush, and then I can assign a hotkey to them. One of those is Alt-E, and then in here I can go and select specific things. So if I want like a specific cylinder, I can go through here and say, okay, let me go through here And right now, this cylinder is kind of faceted. But if I wanted to be like, you know what, I want something that'll kind of... oh, you can also hold down Alt and scale along 2 axes, so you can maintain the thickness, but then still scale up the object here. So let's say I want to put a little shape like this, but it's faceted. So I might split this out, go ahead and just do a crease, geometry crease menu. There's a crease with a crease tolerance there. You can hit D for dynamic, get a preview of it. If you like it, go ahead and say, what do we say? We say dynamic apply. And then we just, since we split this off, we know it's right next to our original object here. So I can just say merge that back down, control drag to dynamesh those together. And now we've got, you know, a little thing that we can now go in here. Now, right now, if I'm using my clay brush, you're going to see it's just going to take that surface normal. But if we go back to that brush trim hole and we use our camera, we can literally just, we can punch out and then we can just punch straight back if we wanted to. So that's a, I don't know, kind of a fun brush, maybe. Something like this. And then redynamesh. Oh, but remember, brush trim hole, you want backface masking turned on. So let's do that again. Let's also raise up that resolution just a bit. So we're going to go through here. We're going to say I'm going to pull out just a bit from our camera angle here. Or you know what, maybe we'll just punch in. That might be better. So we're just going to punch in a little bit here, redynamesh, and then BI brush inserts, blah, 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 industrial parts, M. We got to go with a flathead screw this time. And we'll say split mask points. Let's go out of solo mode. Again, if I scale this up uniformly, it'll just scale it uniformly. Surprise, surprise. You can also go in here, you know, while we're doing this and you're scaling uniformly, if you don't have this on, it'll scale out, or it used to. Oh, it's not going to because this is technically an array mesh, so you don't even need to worry about that. Never mind. So we'll just go in here and we'll scale this up. Now, remember, you can also just hold down Alt and scale along those 2 axes if you don't want to, if you want to increase the radius that way, but you don't want to like make it bigger overall, you can just do that. And then again, hit D for dynamic. We'll go ahead and turn off Dynamesh for this one. And now we've got our little, we're just adding screws all over the place. Best approach to create game ready for animal anthropomorphic creatures. It's not really any different than, I mean, game ready. I'm going to give you a bad answer, so keep that in mind. What was the one we did? Okay, so go to my videos here. Seems like semi-recently. Is that a word? We did a topology. It's not like animation ready. Like I wouldn't hand this off to, you know, any place I want to get a job at and be like, look at this amazing topology. But for ZBrush purposes, here's one on tapering. What am I? See, this is the old thumbnail thing. I know it's in here. Okay, let's just do this. Search. This one, ZBrush topology, face, body, whatever. Stupid title, but share, copy. Here is that. This is just a way where you can go through, and there's a lot of techniques on ZRemeshing and making polygroups for generally animatable adjacent topology. Again, I wouldn't, this is not, like if it's going to be humanoid, I would just take a base mesh and project it and then call it a day. That keeps your vertex order the same. It's better for pipelines. It's a known quantity. It's already been approved by the rigging team. You're done. Now, as far as creature stuff, you're right. You're probably not going to be able to do that. But the same rules still apply. When we talk about rules, there's a, what is it called? Hippydrome has some good stuff on like how topology should be laid out, you know, for general, what is it called? Orifices, you know, orifices of the face and where you should put your 5-point geo or your, you know, weird star geo converging geometry and stuff to, yeah, blah, 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 all that stuff. Okay. Sorry, I'm going way back up top. Yeah, it's true. It is kind of intermediate level. Sorry about that. But believe me, you would be so bored if every time I came on here it was all beginner. I mean, it's pretty beginner, but like if it was like, okay, everybody, let's talk about the basics of shapes. We're gonna learn what a triangle is today. It's like, oh God. Oh, thank you. Um, Kiosk Masons, yes, they're awesome. Check them out. I love those guys. Could you show us how to use pen strokes properly to get some good volume and texture without messing up the mesh? Volume and texture without messing up the mesh. Kind of depends on what you mean by messing up. If you want to protect something, so for example, on this arm here, I tend to use, it's a variation. I think I got it from like Magdalena. If you go to ZBrush Masters, she's got a video on there and brushes, but and again, I don't have them, but like something like clay tubes, stroke, modifiers, roll distance set to 5, very low Z intensity, something like that. You can go through here and you can just build volumes carefully while you're going through here and you're like, you know, really working on that brachioradialis, and then go back in here with your Damian standard and you can kind of cut in. Now, having said all that, I'm not much of a finesse. Speaking of finesse, you know, the Kiosk Masons, let me go in here. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to change my weighted smooth mode to 1, which is smooth stronger. So on high resolution meshes, you can use that as kind of a quick way to do that. So I'm not like a real finesse sculptor, obviously, but you can go through here, and let's actually take this up a little higher through here. So we're going to say, okay, this is generally the direction this thing needs to go, and then we're going to go through here and modify our volumes using our clay buildup. And again, the ZBrush Masters are, you know, go watch those videos. They're better at this stuff than I am. But poor man's version, we'll go through here and we'll use our move brush and we'll use our clay tubes. And then again, as far as like you don't want to mess up other volumes, that would just be a matter of going in here to like mask lasso and being like, hey, if you want to protect something, just mask it out. And then that way you can go through here and you can do what you need to do and not... and also what also helps too when you're working with volumes and you have details and you want to go through and be like, hey, I've got a lot of beautiful, let's turn off lazy mouse. I've got a lot of really beautiful detail on my arm here and I don't want to mess it up. This is where we get into, okay, control tap that point in history. We're going to go down here to, and we're pretty set. We're pretty happy with what we're working on. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, what are we going to say, everybody? Geometry, ZRemesher, polygon. So normally I would go like half, but we're like at 284,000. I don't want to have to do that. So target polygon count of 5 is fine. Adaptive size down quite a bit is fine. We're going to ZRemesh this result. We already stored our details, right? So we can project back to them. But now what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, I'm just going to be refining all of my volumes and I want more predictable geometry to do that. So I've ZRemeshed this. We got nice even quads here. And I'm going to say, you know, project history underneath your subtool, project history. And then we're going to say Control D, which is divide. And then, sorry, I'm in beginner mode again. Project history, Control D to divide, project history, Control D to divide, project history. And now we've got all our beautiful detail back, and now we have very predictable geometry. And now we can go through here and, you know, use our damn standard 02 or whatever, and we'll start, you know, doing all our zany, creaturey, kind of sculpty skin folds and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's... Well, the other thing too is, okay, great, but the whole point of this, sorry, was I have detail on here, but I want to modify the volume underneath. Easiest way to do that is just to drop down to like subdivision level 1, subdivision level 2, go through here, work on these volumes. Now that we have subdivision history, you can go through here and you can, you know, you're not going to mess up your poor detail. You're just going through here and we can actually drop our Z intensity down now that we're working on lower resolution meshes. Go through here and work on our volumes and go through here and use our move brush and kind of tweak our silhouette and stuff. That's another thing too, is don't feel like you have to use your brush for everything. Use your brush to get your basic volume and then go and use your move brush to kind of make it so it's not all lumpy, bumpy, and goopy, right? And then go back up and then your detail should be fine. There are brushes like BF. There's like Form Soft brushes that you can kind of use. Whoops, did I not select it? S. That you can kind of use where you can go through here and change volumes underneath a mesh, as opposed to like the clay brush. It's just going to go like blah and get rid of it. So there's that too, but also subdivision history might be your friend in that instance. Latest version, when I Alt mouse click navigating, it sometimes grabs a model and zoom in, rotating until I click again with my pin. Let me see. So Alt. So we're in here, and we're zooming in, and we're holding down Alt because we want to move. So if you Alt tap something, that's going to select it, right? And then when I'm zoomed in, I'm using right click navigation. So I'll use Alt and right click, so I'm not actually selecting anything. So that seems to be working okay. And speaking of moving, let's go in here and let's say move this out. There we go. Beautiful. Look at that. So that seems to be working okay. I'm not selecting it. However, if I'm out here and I'm Alt moving around, yeah, it is selecting stuff, but doesn't seem to be bothering me. Oh, wait, did I get it? Alt. I'm trying to Alt right click. Get it. Alt. Okay. Alt. Maybe you just got a better Alt clicking finger than I do. I can't get it to do it. I kind of understand what you're saying, but Alt mouse click navigating, and sometimes it grabs your model. I wonder too, because I'm hovering about an inch off of my tablet while I'm navigating. So maybe if I was closer to my tablet, it would be more inclined to click. I really don't know. Well, I'll keep an eye on that. I'm not sure. Sorry. Now, what we were talking about was underneath preferences, right-click navigate. So preferences, interface, navigation, right-click navigation on, enable right-click pop-up off. That's really all I've done on mine. I'm not sure how to turn that off. Where's Joseph Drust when you need him? What iPad would you recommend for ZBrush? I don't mess around with specs. So whenever it's like, what do you use for CG? I'm always like, the best that's out right now, whatever that is. I'm not a bargain shopper when it comes to hardware. Now, granted, I'll use it for a long time. So what started out as awesome will very quickly become bargain. Unfortunately, you know how it works. But yeah, whatever the best is usually what I'll do. How things going with jobs in the industry? Industry as a whole, kind of crappy, right? It's not great. A lot of layoffs and a lot of, I don't know. There's part of it's like, oh, during COVID, this happened, or overhiring or underhiring, or, projects, or, mergers and acquisitions. And, but now it's, post-COVID-ish, and, still kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know. Not great. Not great. How do concept art use 3D or ZBrush differ in their approach output compared to 2D artists? Thumbnail phase variations. How do productions use one versus the other? So, me personally, and actually this goes back to in here. Again, this is old, but let me go back. Oh, here it is. Blog. 2D versus 3D concept art and production pipelines. So, and also, if you look at, here's a good one for 3D concepting, kind of. If you go to that big mech, where's it at? It's buried. ZBrush Summit 2018. So this is my ZBrush Summit 2018 presentation that I gave. Very much in line with that. And this is, I talk a lot about that actually, is just when I like 2D concept early just to get quick alignment, out of context quick alignment, just to say, hey, here's the overall mood. I like a good mood painting to be like, okay, that answers the questions for what the player should feel, the color palettes, the color script, the scale, and Even if you can even do it from the player point of view, sometimes that's even better. It's not always what happens, but it's useful, obviously. But anyway, a lot of decisions can be made, or just you can align yourself generally and broadly with the 2D concept at that phase. Past that phase, if you keep going down that path and you're like, okay, cool, we aligned ourselves with a mood painting, let's continue to align ourselves with a bunch of drawings for 2 years, and then after 6 months we'll start getting some of that stuff in and realize, oh, we wasted a lot of time, because now that we're in context and we're making good decisions in context and we're making decisions for what the experience is, which is not the making of art book. It's not a 2D image. We're not shipping a book. We're not shipping a PDF. We are shipping a game that is interactive and that you play. And it's experiential. You're shipping an experience. And if your experience for the first however long of production is nothing but images, it's good for alignment, but it's deceptive. It's deceptive alignment. You think you're all on the same page, and you think you got your shape language down, and you think you got all the color scripts good, but then you go in and you start making that game. Maybe what you thought isn't all that accurate. So, and it's also 2024. So like, get shit an engine. Like, stop pretending like, oh, engine is so hard and 3D is so expensive and everything's impossible, and the only thing we can do is draw in order to make decisions. And I honestly, drawing to make decisions would actually be a boon to some productions, where it's like, hey man, you guys have been typing a lot and there's a lot of sheets of paper about what the game's going to be. So if you want something very far removed from the end experience, unless you're making a text dungeon crawler, text-based dungeon crawler or something, yeah, even in that case, a lot of times you just at least draw it, but then also, you do a lot of drawing, and it's like, man, just put it in engine. And you can be smart about it. Well, if we put something in engine, then blank. Whatever the reason you're not putting something in engine, there's always several reasons why. They're usually bullshit. If the end experience is experiential, get to that experience quickly and then start iterating and refining. Now, granted, you don't want to put a bunch of stuff in and like, okay, what game are we making? Figure out what you're making, figure out what your target audience is, figure out how generally you're going to make it, but don't get caught up in, okay, everything has to be perfect and we're going to know everything before we do anything in engine. In my experience, never happened. In the history of gaming, possibly, has it ever happened. So be organized, be smart, pick and choose your battles, but get your stuff in engine. So going back to your question, yeah, just model it real quick. Decimate it down, throw it in engine, put a rig in it, organize it so that if you need to iterate through that till final, at least it's organized in a way that's appropriate for production. It's a seamless handoff, but there's no reason in 2024 to lock things down for approvals and alignment when you're only getting alignment on the page, which has, I want to curse a lot when I talk about this stuff. It has nothing to do with the end experience, or very little, or less than you think to do with the end experience. The end experience is experiential. It's not the experience of looking at an image. It's a moving image at least, right? Sorry. Yeah, so that, and honestly, it's the same thing too. So if you're gonna ask me, hey, Mike, do a gorilla concept, I would do something like that. I'd spend half a day concepting something out. Oh, I got an example of that. So for example, if we look at, and this was like a Jonas Rosinus tutorial, like this thing here, this bird concept sculpt. Hey, Pab, that's what they call me. We want a guy in a cockpit that's controlling a bird mech thing. I'm like, okay, cool. So here, I'll make one real quick. Take me a couple hours to go through here and just make one. Now, granted, you maybe want to get alignment and want to talk about like, okay, what's the manufacturing techniques? What is it supposed to represent to the player? When a player looks at this, are we messaging visually appropriately? Are they able to look at it and go, this is what you want to take away from this object quickly and effectively? Effective visual messaging, blah, blah, blah. It's, at the end of the day, everything we do is being effective messaging visually. And that's not only for our output. Does this mech, when you see it in game, boom, do you look at it and go, I understand what that character is? That's part of effective visual messaging. The other part of it is, while you're in development land, are you effectively visually messaging cross-functionally from engineering, design, art, VFX, sound, what the end experience is going to be? And if part of that is written docs, or part of that is concept, or part of that is 3D, or part of that is, block out assets in engine, whatever is the most effective way to message visually is what you want to use. And a lot of times it is in engine experiential, because boy, that's a great alignment tool, as you can imagine. So anyway, I would spend maybe a day making a quick concept block out of this asset. And then what I would do is pretend like I can draw and go in here and be like, okay, here's my quick block out. And now maybe I want to go in and refine this idea, maybe make some changes. So here is where okay, yeah. So, take a screenshot of it, go into Photoshop, drop the opacity down, and then just start, grab your pencil brush, and then just start drawing. And granted, not much of a concept artist, so it's a little noisy. Breakup shape language could use a little bit of help, but you get the idea of, it's not just, oh, concept artists now have to be all 3D, or they should only be 2D, and then 3D artists should blah, blah, blah. 2D artists, if you're not using 3D as part of your pipeline or part of your tool set, I hope you're really good at 2D, because you're missing out on some really awesome ways to take 3D objects and use them to your advantage. You get perspective for free, and you get symmetry for free. There's a lot of cool stuff you get for free, and you get awesome gorilla blobby models for free. But anyway, you should also know how to construct in the round and construct volumes and, draw in perspective. That's, so you shouldn't need 3D, but also, like, if you have a 3D model and you did a concept over it, then you can hand that off, and then you could even decimate that down. Like I said, throw it through Painter, toss it into Engine, and now your concept is contextual. Now your concept isn't just, dumb old art director being like, in ZBrush, I'm going to make a decision on his armpit stubble because I'm a dumb art director. It's like, no, you get this into Engine, it's running around, you're shooting it, and if you're making good decisions about the design in context of what the actual experience is, you don't get caught up worrying about armpit stubble on a gorilla. You're worried about target acquisition. You're worried about messaging effectively. You're worried about, can I tell its head from its butt? Can I tell its weak points? Blah, blah, blah. All the things you should be worrying about, instead of getting caught up in, how does your ZBrush model look? Is your end experience a ZBrush model? No. Well, then why are we evaluating a ZBrush model? Evaluate the experiential object. I keep going back to that subject. Thank you, no problem. Suppose I have a poly loop. Is there a way I can give it thickness? Okay, so we have a poly loop, and we want to give it thickness. So let's say, so cylinder, edit, make polymesh 3D. And then we want to say, okay, I want to put a, this is a barrel. Ooh, let's do this, actually. Let's go in here to our deformer. And we'll say taper. And can I taper? I thought I was going to be slick, and I already shot myself in the foot. So let's go back. That's one thing I don't like, is clicking this damn gear icon sometimes is difficult. I'm going to go into the deformer here. I'm going to hold down Control-Alt. We're going to grab these. Oops. We're going to scale this out, give ourselves a little barrel. And like I said before, we can hold down Alt, and we can scale along that axis. So here we have our barrel, and I want to put any barrel makers in here can remind me what the name is for the metal rings that go around it, little hoops. I'm going to duplicate this off, and now we're going to go in here, and we're going to say poly group poly loop, and we're going to grab this one and grab this one, I suppose. Let's grab both these here. Control-Shift-Tab, geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. Now, we can go in here, BZM, like y'all already know, Q mesh, polygroup all, we can add thickness. However, the question wasn't that. The question was, give it thickness and bevel at the same time, non-destructively. So we can give it thickness. So we're going to go down here, dynamic. And destructive is also relative, right? You can give something destructive, but they can also go in here and say, okay, oops, that was destructive. Well, just Control-Shift-Tap this, delete hidden, display properties, flip, and you're right back where you started. It's not that destructive, right? So something to consider is you can go ahead and just give it a quick bevel. And here's a really quick way to do bevels. Go in here to crease. Now that we have polygroups, and you can go down here to hold down Control and just put in a bevel width, and that will give you a bevel on all of your polygroups. Then you can go in here to crease menu, crease PG, D for dynamic, crease level of 2, smooth side of 3, and now you've got a nice little, you know, beveled whatever. Now, to your point, it is destructive, but you would just have to go back here and say delete hidden, flip, and then you're kind of back where you started. Although in this case, those bevels did push it, so we got to hold down Shift and kind of pull it back out. Okay, back to your question. Edge loop, nope. Dynamic. So we have dynamic turned on, and that is set to smooth 3. Let's turn that down to 0, and let's add some thickness. Now, thickness by default, if we go into transparency mode, you're going to see it's kind of splitting the difference a little bit. That's based on this offset. So if you take that offset up to 100, the real geometry is on the inside, and then it offsets out. Let's switch this. Here we go. And then if we do the opposite, now the real geometry is on the outside, and then it offsets inside. And this is all non-destructive, quote unquote, so it's just dynamic, and you can turn that on or off. So let's set this to 100. Now, bevel. We can, it's not a bevel, but, well, it's not even going to be that, is it? Because we can turn on, we can turn on smooth, but yes, it doesn't allow us the opportunity to go, hey, I want a smooth subdiv of 3, crease level of 2. It's going to be fully creased. Thickness and bevel. Gosh. Thickness and bevel. So dynamic thickness, is there a dynamic bevel that doesn't include smoothing? Because that's not going to work. If you want to get fancy, you can try. This is going to work in very, very few instances, but what you could do is you could turn on dynamic, and instead of using thickness, you could go in here to micro poly, and you could do, let me see if there's even anything in here. You could basically, you have a strip of polygons, you could build, God, can we just do it real quick? Let's just do it real quick. Let's try it. Now I'm interested. So let's say we want to do a fake dynamic non-destructive bevel. So we're going to go in here to cube, Control N, clear our canvas. There we go. Edit, make polymesh 3D. I like to do a quick ZRemesher half, depth size down to 0, detect edges, just give myself some nice clean geometry. And in fact, when we scale this down, we can do the exact same thing. Boom, nice clean geo, right? So now we have this that we want to move in a strip. So I'm going to say it's going to have thickness, but I want these ends to be glued together. So we're going to just take the purple, and now I want to add a bevel. So we're going to say X symmetry turned on. I'm going to go in here, insert single edge loop, and we're going to say polygroup here, you, and we're going to say Q mesh, hold down Shift. So now we have something with thickness, we have something with a bevel. And you know what, just for the hell of it, let's do mirror and weld in the Z direction. Okay, so this is what we have, right? So we're going to go back to our barrel, and we're going to go down here to dynamic. Now, instead of dynamic smooth, we're going to go down here to dynamic micro poly, and we're going to say, it's not in here, so we're going to say Control Tap, and we're going to grab our, okay, we're going to rename this so I know where the hell it is. Okay, so dynamic, micro poly, hold down Control, use this. So now we've got, but it's got too much geo. Okay, let's do this. We want to use this, but we don't need all this geo. Insert single edge loop. I'm going to just make this super duper simple. Let's make it easier to smooth later. Okay, use this. Because that would not be... You could smooth this with dynamic or what are those? Deformer. No, it's polish by features. What are these called? You see my brain. Deformation. Polish by feature. Okay, so we have this. We want to swap out this with this. So now we have, and again, it's not real. So it's dynamic. So if you wanted to go through here and be like, you know what, let's hit Control D to subdivide. Let's delete lower. Let's get rid of this one here. So now we have more, and then we can again turn on dynamic, and now we have more. And I only did that on one side. That's totally fine. Just whatever. Delete hidden. Okay, so here's one. Okay. Oh, and you could play with it. So if we undo this, yeah, that's actually kind of cool. Let's do this. Let's say we're going to hover over an edge, and we're going to say slide edge loop complete. So this is actually going to provide a cut line. So if you want to be, you know, you don't want to put a cut line right down the middle. That's not designy enough. So we're going to put it over here to the side. We turn on dynamic. Now we have a built-in, ooh, now we're getting somewhere I like. Now we have a built-in little bevel there. And if we ever want to do more of that, we can say insert single edge loop here. I wonder if we could even do, let's try this. Let's say collapse edge. Let's see what this will do. Dynamic. Oh, kind of works. Okay, so now we got a little sci-fi panel cut lines. So this is all dynamic. It's non-destructive. And then if you want to, it's a little iffy. Let's go down here to, I just want to see. Yeah. That's concerning, but not a deal breaker. So now we have this, and like, okay, this is great. It's non-destructive. It's just whatever it is. But now we go in here to apply, and now we have real geometry. So now if we can say Control Shift drag over a piece of this one, Control Shift A. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know why? Okay. I got this. Okay, so one thing we need to keep in mind is we need to go through here, and I'm going to say polygroup, polyloop. So here we have a couple of different colored things, and we're going to duplicate this off. We're going to isolate this. We're going to say delete hidden. We're going to go down here. We're going to say dynamic, smooth off, micro poly on, and we're going to hold that control. We're going to grab use this. However, I need to ensure that we're going to rotate Z. Okay, so they are rotated the right way. That was what I was worried about. So now they should be matched up, but then on the inside, if we say apply and then grab a little piece of this, Control Shift A, they don't close. Control Shift A, Control Shift drag, but this one is. Why is that? Why? Let me think. Undo, back to dynamic, micro poly, weld. Micropoly border. We do want that on. We do want fit. We do want align. I'll have to play around with this, but that's one way you can do it. Sorry. That was a little bit of a tangent. Okay. Sculpt Miniatures loves ZBrush for doing it. Here's my question. How to dig holes in an old piece of clothing with thickness, not dynamic thickness. Is there a solution for other than Boolean? It's fairly heavy action with several actions to do. I'm looking for a sculpting tool to do it, for example. Oh, okay, yeah. So you have, yeah, I wish I had a better answer for that. So on our gorilla here, we have, wait, let me just delete this. Where's our, okay, so for example, we want to put a t-shirt on this gorilla. I'm going to do a quick merge visible, append that merged result back into our subtool stack. I'm just going to dynamesh this result, and then we're going to go through here and X symmetry turned on, and we'll say mask pin. So we're going to have some clothing real quick. And you know what? Let's do this. Mask lasso. So we got a little t-shirt through here, like so. That's a little t-shirt, and then switch back to mask pin, because that t-shirt has to go through here, and then there we go. So he's styling and profiling. And if you want to do a nice clean cut across polygons, you can do edge loop mask border, but I forgot I had a bunch of polygroups in here, so I'm just going to hit Control W. Control Shift Tab, delete hidden. Again, we could do our, on this one, I might just do deformation, polish by feature, open circle, just tap that a few times. Nice, clean, simple geometry, X symmetry turn on, ZRemesh half, tap size down to 0. And now we've got a shirt. And then on this one too, you could say QMesh, polygroup all, and add some thickness. I tend to do, now for miniature stuff, instead of doing like this, and then, I mean, you could go through here and be like, okay, let me alt drag over there and QMesh, polygroup all, and poke holes, you know, through this. And then Control D a couple times, now you got holes in your mesh. But again, if you're just like gonna 3D print miniature stuff, I think what I might do, I'm just spitballing here. I'm gonna hold down Shift as I QMesh just to pull along that surface normal, and then instead of dealing with thin meshes, I might go in here and just say close convex hole and just cap, kappa, kappa, kappa. Control Shift Tap, Control W, and then we'll say crease PG underneath our crease menu, Control D a couple times, and then uncrease all, and then Control D one more time. So now when I'm going through here and I'm sculpting our clothing, oops, let's turn on lazy mouse. Going through here and we're sculpting our clothing here. Let's also go down one. Then I want something to look torn on a 3D model. That would just be me going in here and being like, yeah, look at this torn mesh. And nobody knows that it's just bullshit. There's no torn mesh here, but it looks torn on my miniature, right? That's one option. But I have a feeling that's not really the answer you're looking for. So one thing we can also try, and again, as far as like, is there a way to do this with just a brush to poke holes through a mesh? Gosh, I don't think so. Especially if it's like, okay, we have thickness on here, we've subdivided it. You can at any point go, okay, freeze subdivision levels, and then go in here and just hold down Alt, and then again poke through, and then unfreeze your subdivision levels, and then do a little bit of cleanup work. That's pretty quiet. That's pretty fast. If it is just a Dynamesh mesh, we'll just drag off, keep that resolution here. So we have a Dynamesh mesh, and to your point, it's like I don't want to have to go through here and like do a Boolean. What you can do if it is Dynamesh is just you know, go in there with any object, hold down Alt, and then pull through. Oops. And then, you know, Alt to scale. Oops, let's turn on LSim with dynamic off so we can scale along that axis here. And then Control drag a couple times. If you want to see a little bit better, go in here to display properties, flip, and now you can see your mesh a little bit better. But you know, it's not that bad. But that's with the Dynamesh mesh. But I can totally see what you mean by it being kind of a lot of steps. That was if you had subdivision history. Poking holes through a mesh as few button presses as possible without Boolean. And again, this would be something where, yeah, it works for Dynamesh, but what about if we did have, you know, something with subdivision history? And I think that freeze transformations might be your best bet. Without Booleaning and without Dynamesh. Yeah, I don't think they're, well, now if you didn't have subdivision history, so we just delete lower, but Sculptris Pro isn't going to do it either, because you can hold down Shift, and Sculptris Pro will eat away geometry like crazy, but it's not going to introduce any holes. But is there a way to say, I still would have to be like, okay, let me really quickly go through here, make like a cut thing with Alt, and it would have to be a Dynamesh. I think that's the fastest way. Hey, I wish I had a better answer, but yeah, to get a hole in ZBrush, it's either poke a hole with ZModeler, poke a hole with Booleans, poke a hole with Dynamesh, and then you can use other things to modify that hole. You could even use like Spotlight, but those are still Booleans. You could use VDM, but that's fake. You know, you could use like Pablo Munoz Gomez has a. Let me steal some of his brushes real quick. I didn't steal them. I got them, and I'm using them. Cloth. Cloth damage. So you can go through here and you can be like, just use VDM brushes. But again, that's not real. It's not poking a hole through your mesh. It's just modifying mesh that's already there. Don't have a good answer. Sorry about that. Cool. Yeah. Try zooming in the focus point. It would just zoom to my center axis. Oh, really? Yeah, if I'm right-click navigating, Oh, you know what it might be? Underneath transform, make sure you have local turned on. Because if this gets turned off, yeah, then it just goes wherever. So maybe the local got turned off. Maybe. Buggy move top. Yes, I have. Yes, move topological does not work very well for me. Yeah. So what I've had to, I mean, as far as handling it, it's a bug. I think. I hope. I hope I'm not misremembering or there's a setting I'm forgetting. But yeah, move topological. I don't have anything good on here. Tool. Let me just see. So we have a mouth here with a mouth bag, and if I go in here with move brush, it'll move. If I go in here to move auto masking topological range 1 and I move, that should not behave like that for sure. Because yeah, there's tons of geometry in here that would say, hey, these are nowhere near each other. But yeah, this appears to be kind of broken, I think. Ways around it, W control drag. Oh, and if this is too soft for you, because that's a new feature, you can go to BT Classic, Transpose Classic, and that'll take you back to the usual here. So now you can say, okay, topological, you're not working for me. Move, control tap to invert, move. And now we've got move topological, kind of. Watch all your videos about posing, still struggling with arms and deformation to like to twist in another pose without being wobbly. Yeah, I've kind of migrated. So I do have posing stuff, and ZBrush 2023 had a couple of cool like anchor brushes were introduced, and I think I went, let's go back to here. Home. ZBrush 2023, what's new? If you scroll down, there's some proxy pose and proxy pose with ZSphere rigging and Transpose Masters ZSphere rigging, ZRemesh and project history refresher with proxy pose. So all these videos right here talk a lot about posing. Having said all of that, nowadays I almost exclusively do all my posing in Character Creator. That's just, it's just what I do. So as far as like how to get a nice twist, like when I'm just posing in ZBrush, it's probably, do we sell my gorilla here? So it'd be something like, number one, if you want to pose with a ZSphere rig, you're going to have resolution. Oh, that's merged. I was like, why am I missing something? So for example, if I want to pose all this, I need to make sure that I have subdivision history. So I can go through and drop down to lowest and then use ZSpheres to go and pose this guy out. If I don't have that, I can go through and I can just pose it. So we can say, for example, Z plugin, Transpose Master, T-Pose Mesh, just send it all over and then it's just masking. And then you could use anchor brushes. So if you wanted to like mask lasso. And again, this is where like going in and creating a quick rig, let's also turn on X symmetry, is way easier and more flexible than this, but you know, when in a pinch, it's fine. So we'll just mask, control tap to invert that mask, W, go ahead and set our pivot. Of course, this mesh here should probably, oh no, it should probably be unmasked. So as we move this around, it stays relatively hard surfacey. And I'm probably just gonna end up moving that around anyway. So we'll go through here and we'll pose this arm out, and then we'll go ahead and mask through here now, and then control tap once, and then, you know, set our pivot in here. You could also use transpose, just hit Y on your keyboard, and you go like, okay, bone to bone, and then put this in the middle of your mesh, and then R to rotate, and beep, boop, beep. You can also hold down Alt, and you could do, you know, wrist bends if you want, but we're kind of rotating the arms out here. So here's our new pose. Now twisting would be something like, you know, making sure it's pointing down the axis, and then you want to go through here and like, you know, kind of twist. But even if you're using ZSpheres, you can have helper stuff in here, but at the end of the day, if you're making any major changes, it is what it is. You can go through here and you can kind of clean this up a little bit. You could say T-pose to sub T, it'll go back and move all our subtools around. Also, you could use proxy pose. We just talked about that, but I didn't really use it. But yeah, so now we can go back in here, and I would still have to go in and be like, okay, now that our arm has moved, we don't have like a muscle simulator in ZBrush. You'd have to be like, okay, the brachialis and brachioradialis and whatever, the bicep, you know, is going to change position, and you just go in and basically clean it up. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, it is what it is. But again, that's terrible anatomy, but hey, it's a demo, man. Yeah, and as far as the wobbly part, having subdivision history helps, because you can see I can go all the way down to subdivision level 1, and if it's wobbly, all I have to do is go through here, and I'm dealing with very few subdivision. Now, if you're talking about wobbly, like you're using ZSpheres and you're going in with a very high resolution mesh, and your ZSpheres, it's really non-performant and it's like really choppy and it's like leaving steps across, that just means you have too much geometry, unfortunately. So then you would have to ZRemesh, project history, give yourself something very low res to use for your ZSpheres. It'll give you a much smoother fall off. I won't say nice, but better fall off, and then it'll be less wobbly. And even when you go clean up, you know, you have less polygons to move around, so you can go from wobbly to not wobbly quickly, as opposed to, okay, I've got 5 million polygons, how do I make this non-wobbly? Well, you're gonna have to move 5 million polygons in a non-wobbly way, and that's just a lot of work. So cool, thank you, Crisis Bomberman. Glad the videos are helping, and anybody tell about it. Let's see. Oh, did I miss a hair question? That's a good answer, Fen. Block out in ZBrush, XGen, spline generated hair and engine, and then hair card and fiber mesh. I can give you a little graphic on a kind of what that's going to look like. For my CGMA class, it's a little bit dated. It was pre-XGen or early days of XGen, but essentially, like in ZBrush, whenever you have a block out of a hair mesh, and then you go through and you make your hair strips, right? XGen, or you have a block out, and then you can use XGen to create splines, and then splines are root to tip, right? And then those can just be an alembic hair, or you can turn those splines into hair cards, and then you can have hair card settings that you can go in and modify, and thick to thin, or not thick to thin on hair cards, but you know what I mean. More hair cards, less hair cards, flyaway hair cards, and then you can have textures applied to those hair cards, and then you have something that looks like this, even though it's hair cards. Basically, it's root to tip geo, which you can also do in ZBrush. So like these braids right here, I didn't go into fiber mesh and braid this. I didn't go into XGen and braid this. I literally went in here with an IMM brush and went, give me my braids. And then I could tell XGen or whatever, here's the root, here's the tip, give me a spline down the path of that geometry. And now I have, you know, really complex braids in a couple of seconds. I just love looking at this gorilla. Sorry, I missed that question. Cool. That's true. There's a lot of beginner content out there, including mine, but maybe I'm not beginner enough sometimes. After you sculpt, do you tend to retopo in Maya or something? I do most of my retopology in ZBrush. I'm fast enough to just do it in there. But yeah, Max, Maya, Moto, Blender, Cinema 4D, Topo Gun. It's all variations of the same thing. You know, you have a mesh that's live, and then you can quad draw or whatever it's called in whatever program you're using. But yeah, I'm usually too much in a hurry, so I use ZRemesher like it's going out of style. Alt right click and grabs the model, and I can rotate and zoom only with the pen. That is weird. I can't. Yeah, sorry about that, man. I wish I had a better answer for you. Can you delete any Oops, sorry. Can you delete any subtool in a closed folder without deleting the entire folder? Oh, that's a good one. Oof. Let me see. Let me copy tool, paste tool. So now we've got a new tool stack here. And then in here, I'm going to say, so here's how you can move stuff into a folder. So we can say, let's control tab, let's put history, get rid of it. W, move multiple, control shift drag over multiple objects, control F to folder it, always yes, and test. So now we have all of these objects in a folder. However, we have a closed folder, and I'm in here in this closed folder, and we're selecting things. I'm like, okay, I want to delete this head, right? Go in here to delete, and it deletes everything in the folder. If there was preferences, oh man, y'all have come with some good questions. I mean, if there might be a preference for it. Let's do that again. So again, here's move multiple, and in case you didn't know what move multiple was, you can just move multiple things. You can also hold down Control Shift and drag, and you'll see little hash marks. You can Control Shift tap to add things to move multiple. You can Control Shift tap again to remove add. You can Control Shift tap out here to invert. So basically, we're going to grab all these, and you can also, with move multiple, hit Control F and add things to a folder. And then once we have a folder, we can turn off move multiple. Now, you can go back into move multiple. You can go in here, and you can say transpose set, and then now you're back to move multiple. And then I keep hitting undo, and it keeps adding that. So now you can hit, alt tab any object in here, and you could say, okay, delete, and it'll, if as long as that folder's open, it'll delete. Yeah, it doesn't delete all. How annoying is that? Show subtools folders, yes. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't have an answer for that one either. Sorry about that. For character art, how much is sculpting in a pipeline? Can one just sculpt these days, or what would one focus on to become a character artist? Going to university for character art. So, what you're doing as a job in character art versus what you're going to do to get a job in character art are two different things. Maybe. Because what I would say is, if you want a job in character art, you got to impress your lead, and impress that lead, they're going to want to make sure that you are just so passionate about anatomy and love making characters. And you can obviously do the milquetoast stuff of, can you make a high res, can you make a game res, can you bake it, can you make UVs that aren't trash, can you texture it up in a compelling way that has some storytelling to it, because textures and materials and lighting, you can have an awesome model and destroy it with bad textures, materials, and lighting. You can have a terrible model or a mediocre model and make it look amazing with great materials, textures, and lighting. Put that in your back pocket. Don't skimp on that stuff if you weren't trying to sell yourself. Having said all that, you're going to do all this anatomy stuff, and then you're going to get a job in the industry. And I almost guarantee you're not going to get a job making anatomy for a video game. Like, you don't usually hire brand new people to be like, okay, go ahead and sculpt a bunch of, base meshes for our game. That's going to be the lead and the tech artist probably doing all of that. Your first job will be a glorified prop artist. We need a lot of clothing. We need a lot of shoulder pads. We need a lot of boots. If we're not outsourcing it, that's the type of content we need more than sculpting. Now, you may work on a game. You may luck out and be like, hey, we have a very ZBrush-centric pipeline. It's a bunch of creatures and a bunch of NPCs and enemy AI that require a bunch of sculpting, and you just sculpt all day. For sure, that exists. That would be an awesome job. If you can find those jobs and it's just mostly sculpting in a pipeline all day, absolutely, it can exist, and it probably does exist at certain places, but it's probably not that common. What should you focus on? I don't, let me see. Do I have something on that? That would be, do I need a college degree? Break in the games industry? Again, just my blog might have some stuff on there, but as far as character art, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. As far as breaking into the industry, is tailor your portfolio to where you want to work. So if you want to work for Naughty Dog, maybe, and you want to work on hyper-realistic Naughty Dog games, maybe you don't have only super cartoony Adventure Time models and textures in your portfolio. And then also on top, so tailor your portfolio to who you don't want to work for. And then also make your work as good or better than their current artists. Is that easy to do? No. But try to approach that. You don't want to come in and be like, I want a job now, and you have terrible artwork compared to who they are and what they do. So you want to at least be moderately competitive, or at least the illusion that you're moderately competitive, even if it takes you a little bit longer. Get it to that point if you can. You don't want to come in swinging too low, right? Your batting average way down there. And then, like we were talking about earlier, making sure you answered all the questions that a potential employer is going to have. And if you don't answer all those questions, keep in mind that you will be competing with people that probably did. So if you only have high-res stuff that's rendered beautifully, great, that's going to get their attention. But if you have no examples of game res and bakes and all, again, all the milquetoast stuff we do in the industry, then you're probably going to lose out to somebody who has beautiful high-res renders and has all that stuff in there done moderately well. Long story short. Local transforms, yes, got it. Experience ZBrush losing your saved hotkeys. Occasionally, what you can do is go in here to, like when you just load up ZBrush, sometimes I'll be missing my custom menu stuff and my hotkeys. I think if you go in here, in the event that happens, go in here to config, load UI, and then go into, it's a little bit of a different folder, but it's ZBrush data, C and Windows machine, C users public documents, ZBrush data 2024, Z startup, custom user interface. Load that up. That should grab your hotkeys. That should grab your custom menu, and you should be back where you started, I think. Make sure, we got 5 minutes. Okay. Lightning round. What's the point of to draw a concept in 2D if the concept is already done in 3D? Not always. It's not always done in 3D. It could have a block out in 3D and it's an engine running around, and now you need the concept artist to go in and say, hey, let's take this to the next level. Now that we see it in context, what do we need to do to this in order to make it really successful? And then you go on top of the 3D model and continue to 2D ideate on top of your 3D model. And even if it's a 3D artist, I would suggest doing that. Do you think it's easier to sculpt characters in real life settings or fantasy settings? Real life, if I'm just taking scan data or metahuman dragging some sliders around, boom, real life is done. Fantasy is going to require a little more work. So, and even like when you talk about like Unreal and metahuman and mega scans and stuff, like real life is far and away the easier thing to do. Easier in the sense that you got some really nice foundation to start from. If you figured it out, could you make a tweet about it? It's going to be on my mind forever now. What did I miss? Let me see. I might have missed the first part of that, Warren. For some reason, I'm really bad about, because I'm getting a bunch of comments from all over the place, and so it's hard for me to kind of keep up. Let's see. Access replay. We have access to replay a stream on YouTube or Twitch. And yes, I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel, and it's also going to be on Pixelogic's channel too. Surprised I'm not seeing a lot of use for Redshift in ZBrush. It is kind of built in. I don't have a video on it because when I was using it, it was kind of hard for me to use, to be honest. But your mileage may vary, and really all it is just a matter of going in here to your materials, choosing a Redshift material, and then we need to activate it in the render settings here. So underneath render, Redshift render, turn on Redshift, go in here and do a lot of settings, and then hit BPR, and then it'll render in Redshift. It's easy enough to set up. Oh, and speaking of, if you want to know more about like the Maxon bridge and rendering and stuff, I do have on my playlist here a whole playlist on ZBrush and Cinema 4D. There's some really fun stuff with like physics and foam rendering and glass and Redshift rendering. Not in ZBrush, but external from ZBrush. You can just hit Go ZeeZoo, and then you can check that playlist out. It's a decent playlist. So there's our Redshift aluminum render in ZBrush. Double result after applying a tube to a curve is there a way to prevent this? Yes, turn off X symmetry. So if you have X symmetry turned on, it's going to do it twice. So if you turn off X symmetry, it'll just do it once. Can you explain how to start and where to start sculpting any model from basic shapes? You know what? I'll send you a video link. Again, this is for my CG Master Academy class, but where is it? Quick demos. Share. Copy link. This is basically a video on here's a seemingly complex object. There we go. So we have something that appears complex. It's a really complex hat. Like, how would you make this? Well, if you get caught up in the details, immediately it's going to be too much. But if you break it down to its bare components. It's basically a cylinder. These shapes are pretty simple. You can just create one simple shape and repeat it. So you break it down to its simple foundations, and then you make it more complex past that. So I'll go ahead and copy that to you, and you can watch that video. Favorite organic hard surface course for intermediate users? I don't really have one. I do have for hard, like organic stuff, ZBrush. Let me do this. Let me see. Go to my Google Drive here. So organic here, ZBrush Masters live. Go and check these folk out. And then for hard surface, I've got a doc on that. Scroll down, and there's some, you know, different methodologies and different examples. Because when it talks about like, oh, how do you do hard surface in ZBrush? There's a million ways to do hard surface in ZBrush, and there's no wrong answers. Depends on your workflow. Depends on your final result that you're looking for, and etc. Let's see. Eagle model feather IMM gave it depth and projection. Every time I insert my feather mesh, it gets projected on previous feathers. Is there a way around it? Yes. So actually, this is something I kind of. So on my YouTube channel, there is a video called Wrap. And in here, we talk about that right here, where it's like, hey, it's interfering with my other words. How do I avoid that? So share, start, copy right here. Basically, you're going to split those things off in their own subtool and then continue wrapping. Now there is one. Now that's for an IMM brush. There is a trick you can do. So for example, let's switch this back here. So we have an object here, right? And on this object, we want to do, let's go back. Do we still have that? Heck yeah, we do. Okay, let's do this. Let's go back here to brush, no, stroke. We're going to say bend start, bend end, not as line. Curve mode on. You know what? I'm just going to grab something I have here. Where's it at? It's called military. JJKLM military. Okay, so we have a tube brush, right? And it's going to go across the surface, and it's kind of sitting on the surface. Of course, we already know you can go in here to brush, curve, nope, depth. We can drop that down and embed it. In fact, we'll just put it right down the middle. So now when we click on this, it'll just go right down the middle. But, you know, we can also just keep that up on the top. So again, it's just kind of laying on the top of the surface. I forget where this was at. Something like here. So now we're drawing tubes on the surface, right? However, because we're drawing tubes on a surface and we go over other objects, it's going to want to interact with those objects. You can avoid that with a curve brush, not an IMM brush, by going in here and control tapping this point in history to store those vert positions. And now when you go through and you draw a curved line, you can tap off and that'll store that curve. And then when you drag another one, it will ignore the other stroke and it will just draw through. Now, it's not going to help you on feathers, but maybe it'll help somebody with IMM curves if this is a method you want to use to continue just drawing lines over each other without disregarding that. Let's see here. To pose in base mesh character symmetry is not aligned even after turning on posable symmetry. Any suggestions? You have a base mesh at symmetry, and then after posing, yeah, you'll lose symmetry, assuming you're not posing in the same direction. If you're posing something with symmetry, oops, Alt S. If you're posing symmetry with something with symmetry turned on, and then you lose symmetry, sometimes what you can do is you can tap X, go in here to mask pin, go down to your lowest sort of, or doesn't really matter, I suppose, mask half of it, go down here to deformation, smart resim across the X. You can see it kind of jumped here. So we'll say smart resim across the X there. And then now you can get symmetry back. Might be something you can use. I'm already married though. Sorry, Alberto. Hard surface. Oh, the hard surface dock. Right. I was going to, okay, so here, copy. Or I think I already pasted that. Smoothly use damn standard brush without getting any artifacts. So if we have geometry, where are we at? Okay, here. So we're at the damn standard brush here, and we don't want artifacts. So if you go really small and really fast, well, I'm not getting a terrible amount of artifacts. By default, it should be pretty good. You may need to go in and crank up your lazy radius a little bit, you know, to kind of, and that's underneath your stroke menu, by the way. Stroke, lazy mouse, crank that up a little bit. You know, kind of make it a little less artifacty, but I think by default, it should be pretty smooth. Each time I start up ZBrush, I have to set up my brushes, roll, and adjust tablet pen cursor. My brush menu is a way to save it. Yes, go all the way back to the beginning of this episode here, and we talk about how to do that with a mask brush. It's the exact same thing, only with the regular brush. Entry level start the props. You don't have to start with props design. It's just that's generally what most content creation is, in my experience. Is it a challenge to get the first job as a creature or character artist? As a challenge in that, in order to be an effective creature or character artist, you got to be really good at making creatures or character art. And when you're first starting out, you're probably not that good. Maybe you're awesome, you know, if you're an amazing creature artist. Because you've really studied anatomy and you really understand design and what's effective messaging to your target audience for creatures, yeah, you're awesome. Then it won't be that challenging because you're amazing. For most students, it is challenging because, you know, you end up making creatures that, you know, the design's kind of weak or it's just a copy of a previous design. But if it's executed well and it's a copy, that's actually not a terrible thing. You know, so maybe that's something to lean into is if you're not quite there design-wise, take a design that is already successful and just execute on it awesomely, and then boom, because that's what you'll end up doing anyways. You don't need to be great at design in order to execute effectively. So that's a good point. Thanks for bringing it up. Age of existing industry as an older learner, do I have some concerns that be beaten out by younger artists for being boomer adjacent? I hope not. I want to believe that there is a meritocracy when it comes to portfolio. Now, I won't say there's meritocracy when it comes to old guard at a game studio, where it's like the people that have been there for a long time, Peter principled their way to the top and are completely worthless, but still call a lot of shots. That exists in any industry, but that's not ageism or hiring. That's just human nature. It goes back thousands of years. Nepotism and you know, non-meritocracy. Dead weight at the top, you know. But I would hope not. I think if you get an awesome portfolio, I think the portfolio is the great equalizer in our industry, minus, you know, who you know, friends, nepotism, that kind of stuff. If your portfolio is good, I don't think people will care too much about. And also, this isn't an Asian thing, but just an attitude thing of, because you will get brand new students who are like, I know how to use Dynamesh and the clay brush, and that's all I need to know, and I'm in a rut. It's like, well, no, you need to stay interested. This industry moves way too fast for you to be in a rut, you know? So just be interested and be open to learning things and trying new things. And you don't have to be cutting edge. You don't have to be tip of the spear or anything, but you just need to have always be learning, always be interested in new tech that's coming out, because that's part of our industry too. So if you can do that and you have an awesome portfolio, no, I don't think I would hope nobody would care how old you are. How to have a dense mesh on a particular part after remeshing. We go a little bit into that in our, I want to say our ZRemesh video. There's a big, long, hour-and-a-half long video on ZRemesh where you can use color. Oh, I can never find anything on here. You can use ZRemesh in conjunction with Polypaint. So when you want to ZRemesh something like this, and you're like, hey, I actually want a lot of, we want to ZRemesh this. ZRemesher, let's turn up polyframe here. Let's go back to just Skin Shader 4. So we can say on ZRemesher, use Polypaint color density of 2. It'll switch your color to pink. Make sure you go to RGB for your brush. And we say, I want this to be denser. And then we'll say color density of 0.5. And then we'll say, I want this to be less dense. And I'm actually going to do a quick mirror and weld. Xsymmetry turned on. So now in my ZRemesh, it's going to look at those colors that have a particular, 0.5 for the light blue, pink for 2x, and then we can use Polypaint, ZRemesh. Let's not do half. Let's do target polygon count of 17,000. Depth size down. So when we ZRemesh this, it'll give me less polygons up here, more polygons up here. However, before we go do that, let's control tap these points in history. So when we ZRemesh again with Polypaint turned on, we can get our details back, and we'll have more polygons here, less polygons here. So the ZRemesh result is finished. And you'll see more polygons here, less polygons here. Project history, that's under your project. Control D, subtool project history, Control D, subtool project history. Now we have our detail back, and let's go ahead and turn off Polypaint here. So more polygons here, less polygons here, all our detail back with ZRemesh. Oh, we're 10 minutes over. Okay. How to have a dense, like after the first stroke, how to make the second stroke smoothly. I'm not getting it smoothly. I'm getting a point there. So damn standard, you have a first stroke here, first stroke, and then you want to make a second stroke without like a transition here. You can maybe, so you can go here to stroke. I might be misunderstanding too. Lazy radius set at 8. In here, there's a lazy snap. So you can start a stroke and then you can continue a stroke, and it should leave off right where you left off here. But if you want to do that effectively, you may have to go into your tablet pressure, turn this off, and because your tablet pressure is also dictating how well. So if you got a strong stroke, it might meet up okay. If you have a really thick to thin stroke and then you come back in with a strong stroke, it's going to have a disparity there. So I don't know if that helps. Oh, hey. Thank you. Can you show us how to make custom menus, how to create them, or guide us towards a video that shows that? Absolutely. So back here on YouTube playlists, nope, YouTube home, right here, intro to ZBrush, view full playlist, right down here. Let's do a Control F, custom. That's custom brushes, and then down here is custom interface. Video 42 in here will get you up and running. Cool. And hotkey 1 to repeat stroke. Also, speaking of that, thank you, Alex. You are full of good stuff. Also, in lieu of that, also along with that, you can have a stroke here, and then you can repeat your stroke over and over again. You also have a adjust last up here in your interface. Also, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes in here and you want to adjust last on all those, remember you can go back in your history, control tap that point in history, go all the way forward, and then you can adjust last on multiple strokes at once. That's a cool one. Yeah, portfolio, I agree. I hope. Learn and practice anatomy. Here is a decent place to start. Sorry, I'm giving you like non-answers, but you can just type in anatomy here, and there's a bunch of anatomy stuff. But this very top one, that vampire anatomy, that'll have a bunch of resources in there for like scan data and Zygote Body and stuff like that. Cool. Turning off tablet and lazy snap, but it's not working that way. Points on the second stroke, not a smooth stroke with damn standard. Here. So what it makes me think is like the lazy step is high and you're getting something like this. So go in here to stroke and make sure that lazy step is fairly low. And then also, maybe lazy smooth also up a little bit. Yeah, lazy step down. Make sure that's a fairly low setting. Is it possible to create a AAA game-ready character entirely on ZBrush? Absolutely. ZBrush is just polygons, right? Now, it may not be the best at every possible aspect, you know, baking or topology or whatever, but yeah, you can. Simulation on animation in ZBrush. Oh, there is some cache animation. Oh boy, that's a tough one. Kind of. I don't know that it would be, I mean, no, that's not in ZBrush. I could say you could simulate cloth with the ZBrush model, but that's in Character Creator. There is stuff you can do in 2021 that is, let me see, cache, C-A-C-H-E, hope I'm not stepping on, so animation, record, playback. So index 37, there is how you can create a animated cache in ZBrush, and then you could, I want to say Steve Talowski did a, ZBrush cloth videos. No. Damn. There's a way to like dynamic cloth, the Maya. Maybe this. But this is just taking your animated cache into another program. Yeah, I don't know that there's a real good way to animate an object and then have it dynamically. You could pull it through an object or have it dynamically roll down an object with gravity, but it's not like you're animating stuff. So I don't have a good answer for that one. Do you do portfolio reviews? Not. I'm really nice. So if I was to do a portfolio review, I would just gush over your work. So I'm not great at that. Okay, last question I'm going to answer. How do we create something like this? Let's just do it real quick. Sorry, I'm already over. So let's go in here to, there's actually a couple of different ways you can do that. One interesting way is you can go in here to cylinder, and in here you do have the ability to go through here. Even in this state here, you can move, scale, and rotate while it's in an initialized state, and you can go in here and you can do a twist in the y-axis here, and you could even go in here and do a masking, so you can mask everything out by, what is it? Color? No, mask by alpha. Row, so select one, skip one, mask by row. Nope, mask by column. And then you can go through here and invert that, and then you could do a deformation inflate. So what's one way you could do it is just go in here, and then of course you could say make Polymesh 3D and then hit D on your keyboard. That's just using defaults, right? But of course, if you want a little more control, you can go in here to cylinder here, make Polymesh 3D, and now it's just purely sculptable. So then you can, instead of using a twist deformer, you can go in here and use twist. You can say I'm going to twist this one up and twist this one back, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a group by normals, isolate this, delete hidden. We can go through here every other one and say polygroup, polyloop, and then say, you know, every other one of these here. You could even do a panel loops on this. Of course, that'll split your mesh out. But something like, you could do like a inset polygroup all, or you could, and then you can go in here and inset all of these, or you could even do like an insert multiple edge loops interactive elevation, and you could pull through here, and you just kind of get those ridges, and then every other one of these you can go through and just start doing your thing, and then eventually just go in here and, you know, close holes or cap it or whatever. Probably a couple different ways to do it, but yeah. Oh, no. Cool. All right. So very last question here. It's an easy one. Go to my YouTube channel and then type in workstation. And you can kind of see a little, this isn't what it is right now. I'm in a different room in a different house, but that's basically my setup right here. But there's my workstation stuff you can check out. So anyway, cool. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody. And catch you on the flip side. Like I said, this will be posted on the thing you're watching now, as well as I'll just post it on my channel too. And have a good day. Thanks, everybody. Let me figure out how to turn this off. Okay.